historic, I think, event. It's I think probably the best AIP you'll see across Canada after looking at other agreements, and to be a part of it is for Sioux Valley to be a part of it is makes us proud and makes us know that we're going in the right direction and the community is going in the right direction.
Sioux Valley certainly stuck with this process, and they've shown a lot of strength in pursuing an agreement in principle. And Ken, you're absolutely right. This will be an historic document, and I think that Sioux Valley will go a long way, and they're situating themselves in a way that you're going to take care of the future for all of the citizens of Sioux Valley.
And we see it as an important historic move in Manitoba, because this will be the first self-government agreement in Manitoba, and I believe it will be the first such agreement in Canada, in that it's an agreement dealing with one First Nation.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we haven't really, fully gotten what we really want in agreement, but in the end, to look back and to the status quo and how we've lived under an Indian Act, which was, very negative in our progress within the community. And now we have an opportunity to move forward and have a future for the generations to come.
A nation without specific treaty rights. Bureaucratic decisions made in Ottawa. Any development, even on Dakota land, must be approved by the Ministry of Indian Affairs. If the Dakota people are to have a future, we need to take back responsibility for the decisions that affect our lives. We need to restore the Dakota Oate government. Self-government and self-sufficiency are not new ideas for our people. Long before the Europeans came to North America, we roamed the Central Plains.
First native people were in North America were the Sioux people. But there's no such thing as states in Canada. When the Sioux, they get to be expanded, they got to be about a million, and some went further south, and they met another tribe over there, and they're the Navajos. That's the only tribe they met in North America. So the Sioux keep growing, and they're hunting back and forth. There's no such thing as border. So in summer, this is their hunting area. They go and stay over there, and they come back here. So there's no such thing as border.
Dakota to the east, Dakota to the north, Lakota to the south and west. We were a powerful people. Our lands extended from the Mississippi to the Rocky Mountains, from the Platte to the Saskatchewan. We hunted and farmed, traded and made treaties with other nations. When the Europeans began to arrive in this land, we traded with them as well. But in 1812, we found ourselves caught in the middle of the Europeans' war. For an oath of perpetual obligation, we supported the British And despite being abandoned by our allies only 2 years later, it was a promise we never forgot. Settlers flooded into our southern territories. For peace, we made treaties with them. 1815, 1826, 1851. Eventually, we were confined to a narrow strip along the Minnesota River. Such a small area couldn't support our people.
The Indian agent come in there. The Indian agent promised the people rations. And they had one Indian agent there that wasn't up to what he was supposed to do. Well, the Indian affairs buy beef for the Indians, and the Indian agent was supposed to distribute that. He didn't. He sold the beef instead. And they had nothing to eat. So they went to trading posts and they asked for credit. And the trading posts, they didn't want to give them credit. So this is where the outbreak was, and the battle started.
For peace, our ancestors journeyed to our summer hunting lands in the north.
What they wanted was a safe place to live in harmony with one another, get away from all the slaughter that had taken place down there. That was their goal, was to come up into Canada. And mind you, they lived there here before. They were out here before.
One morning they got up early in the morning and they saw shiny things like mirrors moving around up on the mountains there. And he said they got scared. He thought the American troops or soldiers were coming after them. So they all combed our hairs, and he said they braid them and they put on good buckskin outfits. He said they hide the women and the children. And the elders went, and the warriors went around in case something break out. So they went up there, and they weren't the American army. They were surveyors bringing that border across. One side was States and the other would be Canada. And this was in 1878. The Sioux people were back here before the border come across. But now sometimes we're called refugees. How come we're refugees? We never were.
We were once again confined, this time to our northern territories. Our roaming life was over, but we had independence. We had peace. We grew specialty crops. We became woodworkers, cattle ranchers, and laborers. We were a self-sufficient and independent community.
First settled here in 1860s, thereabouts. They had their own agricultural economies in place already, and the archives prove that out. The farming here in the community was superior to the surrounding people, and they used to finish all their threshing, go out and assist the non-native farmers that lived within close proximity. And in the latter 1870s, the Indian Act came into being, which said that Mr. Indian, before you leave the reserve now, you've got to have permission from the Indian agent. If you want to sell a bag of grain, you have to get permission from the Indian agent. If you're going to deal with your farm machinery dealer in town, the Indian agent has to approve of it. It was a shitty setup.
They took away our children and sent them to residential schools. They forbade us to speak our language. They outlawed our games, our ceremonies. Our lives were destined to change forever.
In harmony with resurrection. Going on air right about now. We got a few announcements here for your attention, all you avid bingo players, or even less frequent bingo players. Coming soon, KOD 92.5 is sponsoring a radio bingo.
More mainstream society, I guess we've become very assimilated. Computers, games, like video games, language and culture aren't very important to them.
If we lose our language, there won't be anything. We won't have anything left. We won't be able to call ourselves Dakota people, because through our language, that's the only way that we communicate with a creator. Without that, we won't have anything.
Okay, here's a story of a spider. A spider, in our language, we call them unktomi.
There is much that we have lost, and we have to regain that, and that's a lot of work. So we talk about the future, Tokata. That means in the future. We like to have our children be back where they were, where we were at one time, as a free people. Free to pray in your language, free to talk your language, free to do your ceremonies, all that was at one time, that was all banned because of Christianity. In a residential school, it wasn't education. It was more or less teaching us to be somebody that we were not.
Hey, he says, open your eyes. He says, he's killing us. So that little duck there, he's got a red eye right now. That's a loan. You know what a loan is? Shiaka. They don't know.
If they know who they are, then they're proud of who they are. Pride can take a person a long ways. You can do anything you want and be anyone you want or anything you want once you have the pride and instilled in you. It's once you grow up with it.
It is said that we must go back to our tradition and ceremonies if we are going to heal.
As the horses are coming in, we ask the singers to have a horse song ready. We as Dakota people, we know this is one of the sacred ceremonies. It has never been done in public, but this evening is an exception because we want to share some of our Dakota culture, especially to our younger generations.
Today it gives me the honor and the pleasure to share with you that we can make things happen.
Along with those who refuse to let our traditions die, there are those who have a vision for our people's future.
One of the items on the agenda here, I would like to sort of...
Initially, it was the Dakota Nations of Canada that agreed to work together. The Dakota Nations of Canada became a corporate body in 1972 because of some of the unique differences that they had with other Indian nations in terms of treaties, land claims, and land entitlement issues. So it was all 9 bands in Manitoba and Saskatchewan that jointly went into self-government. I think it was 1987, and they were funded on the basis of 9 bands spanning 2 provinces and roughly, there must be 400 or 500 miles apart. So in terms of getting together and holding meetings and discussing some of the key issues that needed to be discussed, created some problems because of distance and timing and whatnot.
Impatient with the lack of progress on a joint self-government initiative, in 1990 the Band Council decided to pursue an agreement for our own community. A framework proposal was drafted and sent to the federal government. It was accepted in 1991 and officially signed by the Honorable Tom Sidden, then the Minister of Indian Affairs. We now had a formal agenda and process for the negotiation of a Sioux Valley Dakota Wate government.
Health transfer and self-government were things that were initiated by Council of the day at that time, and there's still top issues and top bread and butter issues that are being, negotiated with the brackets on it between different bureaucrats and different representatives from the Department of Indian Affairs.
Our rights and our needs are very simple, as we can count them, on your fingers. Say, this is what our people want, and it's been on the tables for 9 years. And dealing with the federal government, it seems like it's a huge bureaucratic system that's very elusive at times. You don't know who's making decisions, who's saying what, and it seems like that's the hard part of dealing with a government that really has no person or face behind decision making.
My goal, I guess, and the goal of the federal team is to get us positioned so that we can go and get our authorities. And
we hope to take this through our system as soon as we have a final document.
After 9 years of negotiations, a comprehensive agreement in principle with Canada, and a related tripartite agreement in principle that secures Manitoba's recognition of the main agreement were formally agreed upon. Today, negotiations are proceeding to achieve the final agreement. But before any agreement is finalized, it will have to be approved in a referendum vote by Sioux Valley members. A Sioux Valley Dakota Wate government. What does this mean? It means that the Canadian and Manitoba governments will recognize that Sioux Valley has jurisdiction over almost all areas of government in our community.
As a people, we can go to the next level of talking with the government on a one-to-one basis, other than going through all these different agencies and organizations like the provincial government. Being able to do what we like and what we want under our own rules and jurisdictions. If we can use some of our old values and incorporate them in with the modern times, I think we will do a wonderful job as a Dakota nation and as a people.
Initially, there wouldn't be any dramatic or sudden changes in our day-to-day lives. But over time, as we pass our own laws and take control of our future, there will be real improvements. We'll have the legal capacity to enter into contracts. We'll be able to develop our own constitution, be able to protect ourselves from unilateral federal funding decisions, take greater control in managing our reserve lands, and we can begin to replace the Indian Act with laws that meet our needs. In contrast, there are essentially no risks. Our Aboriginal rights are protected. Canada's financial obligations remain in place. Access to programs continues, and our ability to make claims against Canada is unchanged. journey from 1862 has been long and difficult, and there is still far to go. But we know the destination is worth the effort. For at journey's end, what was lost so long ago will finally be restored.
To be able to bring out our feelings of what life is about, what it was like and what it is today. So today we're talking about self-government. I like to be a woman that's going to do what she would like to do, not someone that was standing behind us and telling us what to do.